Welcome to CPAC Now. We are on the road here in Las Vegas, Nevada, really having a great opportunity to talk to so many of our favorite CPAC speakers who are joining us. Of course, Eduardo Bolsonaro visiting us from Brazil. There's so much going on in your country. Eduardo, thank you for joining me.
No, thank you. Thank you to have me here.
Yes, and we always talk about the importance of having this exchange between what is happening here with conservatives in America and what is happening with the conservative movement in Brazil. You just all had CPAC Brazil. We're looking forward to getting back there next year. What are the conservatives telling you in Brazil? What are they concerned about?
They are concerned about the movement of the current president Lula da Silva, and the main issue nowadays is about the Hamas terrorist group invading Israel. And why is that so important? Because the left-wing government, Lula administration, it's very hard should they tell the word terrorist because they have close ties with Hamas. Even the main foreign affairs advisor of Lula da Silva, Mr. Celso Amorim, he wrote the beginning of a book in favor of Hamas in the recent past. So this is the kind of people that is with the power nowadays in Brazil. But thanks God, things are changing. We have elections in Argentina. Chile is going to change. And some of the movements in the South America is giving a lot of hope to us.
Okay, but they did, as we've seen the Supreme Court say that your father can't run again in the next election. So who will run on your side of the party? How is this going to play out?
The Jair Bolsonaro's lawyers, they are still working in the court trying to overturn all of that.
Okay.
We have hope in this process too because the chairs inside of the electoral court changes. So next year, it's not going to be Alexandre de Moraes, this justice from the Supreme Court that openly say don't like my father. So next year, they're going to change the members of the electoral court. So maybe we can have the chance to overturn that.
And it shows that for you all the courts, especially that Supreme Court, is so powerful, right? It is.
Yes.
It tries to be like the same way in America we have judges who are activists. They have the same thing. These judges with so much power. Is that what's happening in Brazil?
100% true, Mercy. And inside of the Supreme Court, who could stop the Supreme Court is the Senate. The Senate,
yep.
They can do the impeachment of the justice of the Supreme Court, but the current president of the Senate, the current speaker of the Senate, he's saying that he's not going to do that. That's why the Supreme Court justices, they're so comfortable to just don't care about our constitutions. If I would tell you the number one thing that Donald Trump did during his administration, I would tell you is appoint conservative justice for the Supreme Court. You don't have idea how would you Americans would be suffering nowadays if the left wing control a Supreme Court.
Right. And what we were talking about earlier was that, there's such a campaign against Clarence Thomas, one of our Supreme Court justices, ProPublica, and several of these leftist type of, they're not media, they're blogs. I don't know. They're just opposition research trying to take Clarence Thomas down so that Biden could put in his own judge. It's similar problems that they're seeing in Brazil in terms of these activist judges trying to make sure that former President Bolsonaro cannot run. It's very similar to here where your father's also facing different legal challenges, just like Donald Trump is here in the United States.
Yes, I usually say, Mercy, that it's the same virus. The problem is that in Brazil we have less antibodies. So here you have a process, you have the law. In Brazil, a lot of authorities, they don't care anymore about the laws. They accuse Jair Bolsonaro of things that are not crimes. And the same authority that accuses is the same authority that is going to judge him.
Yeah.
So it's a very hard situation. But let's see what happens in the future.
Yeah. And so talk to us also with Lula in power. I didn't know that that there were those people in Lula's administration that supported Hamas, but also the ties to China. There is a huge movement towards the fact that China is really trying to take power in Latin America and put in a lot of money there. What's going on?
Only to have an idea, we are in October, and he started his term now in January. These first 10 months in office, Lula da Silva stayed 2 months outside of Brazil, traveling all around. And what he's talking when he's outside of Brazil? The first thing is that he wants to stop to use American dollars as the standard during international trades. So to have an idea, in Brazil now, we are going to start to use the Chinese currency to do the trades. He received, after he met Biden here in the beginning of the year, he came back to Brazil and he received 2 warships from Iran that are sanctioned here in the United States. And the Biden administration, they didn't do anything about that.
Okay, let me make this clear. So 2 ships were sent from Iran to Brazil.
Warships.
Warships. They're warships from Iran to Brazil. So just think they have the China connection, the Iran connection, and Brazil being an incredibly important country. You mentioned about the soybeans and explain that about how much, what's the percentage going to China right now?
80% of the soybeans that we export, and if I'm not wrong about soybeans, we are the number 1 in the world exporter. 80% goes to China. And what China is doing is they are buying our future seasons of soya, of some other agro products, because for sure they have a lot of to feed in their country. They're also buying a lot of iron. To be honest, you have some good deals to do in China, but you have some threats because China, they only don't want your products. It's not like the trades with United States or any other country. China, they all have a strategic view behind the scenes, and you have to take care about that. Going to the end, Mercy, not only the warships from Iran. Now, Iran is officially in the BRICS, which is the group of the countries which the members are Brazil, South Africa, Russia, India, China, and now Iran, and also Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates.
And what does that mean to be part of the BRICS? What's that group? What do they do?
They finance each other. We have a common bank with a fund. So, for example, if you want, you can increase the presence of Chinese companies in Brazil, in South Africa, in Iran, or maybe.
And Lula put Brazil in there.
Yes, he put Brazil there.
And when your father was
My
president,
father would never do that.
No, he was aligned with the United States. Tell us about that relationship when your father was in power.
It was the best relationship ever. Like we had clear that we would like to be together with United States. Trump was a president that had a lot of respect with us, and they signed a lot of agreements. For example, now Brazil, we have the possibility to launch to the space some rockets and satellite projects, and this is going to develop one of the poorest region in Brazil. Only to tell you about one of the good things that they were doing, and it doesn't make sense because in the whole history of Brazil, the number 1 trade partner was United States, but now it's China.
Ugh, it's horrible to know that. I mean, elections, like they matter here in the U.S., they matter there in Brazil. I think one other part that we're seeing is this, the fact that you've had several journalists that are here in the United States who are Brazilian. What did Lula's government do? They took away their passport. What happened there?
Actually, Lula's administration, they don't care about them. These journalists, I'll tell you the names so you can Google that if you do not trust me. Rodrigo Constantino, Alan dos Santos, e Paulo Figueiredo. They're journalists, so their job is talk about politics.
Yes.
And but the Justice Alexandre de Moraes from the Supreme Court, they said that they were committing crime, hate speech and this kind of stuff, fake news and whatever, even if this is not a crime by our law, but still. So as United States is not doing the extradition of journalists because opinion crimes, this justice from the Supreme Court, he canceled the passports of the street journalists. So the street journalists, they are now living here in the United States, in the state of Florida, and they don't have a passport anymore. I don't know if they have a green card or asylum here, but it's unbelievable that they are facing this kind of situation. It's an issue that would unite the whole journalists in favor of the free speech, in favor of the press, but not during woke times.
Talk about the press. We know the media is very in line with the socialist Marxist ideology of Lula. Tell us how that works between the government and those liberal, what you would say are the Marxist media institutions in Brazil.
Now we got back again to the times where the Lula administration is paying for the press and the mainstream media press is talking good things about them. So it's dirty because in the end of the day, it's the money of the taxpayer that is giving more power to the press to tell lies for the people. So that's very important we have alternative communication channels. And that's why one of the first things that Lula da Silva made in the Congress is send a bill to the Congress trying to regulate the internet, trying to say that, to stop with the hate speech in the social media. But thanks God, we blocked that and we refuse this bill.
The other thing is what I learned so much when I was in Brazil, when we did CPAC Brazil, that the same way they were pushing to sexualize our young children in Brazil through their school curriculum and their books, that started happening there before it even came to America.
But here you have the drag queen shows in the schools.
You guys don't have that?
It's still not.
Not yet. So it's probably going to end up in Brazil. So I think one of the things that we've talked about is that things that are happening abroad or things that are happening here in America, it's a global network that these Marxist leftist individuals put together. Talk about Foro de Sao Paulo and talk about why CPAC is important right now for the conservative movement, not only in the United States, but in Latin America and across the globe.
After 1989, when you had the fall of the Berlin Wall, some people thought that the Cold War was finished and it was the end of the communism. But 1 year after that, Lula da Silva, together with Fidel Castro, they created this movement called Foro de São Paulo. Foro de São Paulo is a group where they have hundreds of left-wing parties. And after 1990, when they created this group, 10 years later, they start to get elected presidents from the Foro de São Paulo. So Hugo Chavez in 1999, then you have in 2002 Lula da Silva, Evo Morales in Bolivia, you have Néstor Kirchner in Argentina, Bachelet in Chile, Correa in Ecuador. So they are very well organized. They exchange information to go and get the power. We want to be organized. That's why we do the CPAC, but we don't do what they do. They use the corruption. They use dirty things to go and get and grab the power, like integrity in the elections and all of that. Mm-hmm. We want to be the medicine. We want to be
the cure,
the cure for that. So exchanging this experience, it makes me preview the next steps of the left wing inside of Brazil. I'll give only one example. You're very used with the white supremacists.
Yes. Yeah.
This week was the first time that I listened to someone, a senator
in
Brazil, talking about that. So if I'm someone that I know who Candace Owen is, if I follow all the other politicians here, the good ones here in the United States, I know already the arguments that I'm going to use when I'm going to debate someone that is going to tell that I am the white supremacist, you know?
Yeah.
So this is how important that CPAC is, and showing that we are together with people all around the world, not only the United States.
Yes.
Our friends from Vox in Spain, in Portugal, in Mexico, Eduardo Verastec, and some other guys, like Javier Milei is going to be the next president of Argentina.
He went to CPAC
He went to CPAC in Mexico and also to CPAC Brazil. Showing this connection, we show to our enemies that we are strong and we are not alone in this fight.
We always say that it's, especially during CPAC, the annual big conference, there's so many people that come internationally. It's Hungary, Italy, Spain. I mean, the list, Poland, places in a lot of the places from Latin America as well. So it really has become an international movement, and CPAC is leading the charge to this. Eduardo, thank you so much for joining me on CPAC Now. Do you have any other final thoughts you want to leave with our viewers?
You need to have hope. Things are changing. It's not over. Brazil is going to change. Argentina is changing now. Chile for sure is going to be changing next election.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter what happened, we still have our kids to raise. And it's not an election that is going to change our mind. So keep it going. Take care of your family. We are going to win.
All right. Well, Eduardo Bolsonaro, thank you so much for joining me. You're part of our family, definitely. And we thank you for what your father also has done. He's such a fighter. And I think one of the things we learn about your father and Donald Trump is that you got to fight, that you don't give up, that it's the battle is big and we have to be part of it at this moment. So I want to thank you all for watching CPAC Now on the road. Join us and for the next couple of episodes as we continue to talk from Las Vegas, Nevada. Thank you so much, and God bless.